Welcome back to the channel, Kimyo and Space Cadets. It's the leader of the Cosmic Armada and librarian Nicole Archives with Nara, back to bring you another ORDEAL Webtoon review. Today we will be covering the events of episode 129. So if you do enjoy the video, like the video to help push it out in the algorithm. Comment your thoughts for the episode down below. We will have a like goal for this episode review, but with that out of the way, let's dissect the episode title. Now, this episode title is called Omen. This is probably the simplest title that we have today for this season. Taking a look back in season 1, specifically episode 19, we have Urahime's sisters explain her ability. I know in my 127 review I stated that she had the ability to see Kimyo's death in the near future, and I would like to clear that up now. She had the ability to see people's immediate or distant future, not the moment of their death. Now, Urahime's sister sees that Louise is going to die a gruesome death. However, we don't know exactly how the future works in Ordeal. We know that Shay is considered the rod of man, which is God's plan for him, but for him to only have that as his course of action will be a planned story. It will not result in him becoming a villain. So taking into account the greatest gift that God has provided us besides life, which is free will, which could mean that some things of the future is not definite, but could be a result of the decision that a Kimyo typically make, given a chance for Louise to survive. Now this episode is basically saying that this is the beginning of the end of Louise Hemlock. So with the title dissected, let's move on to the events of the episode. As multiple heavily armed soldiers are laying down heavy fire in a panic, they remark in great stress, "Kill him, damn it! How did they find us? Die!" As an explosion erupts, pushing back the soldiers. They continue to lay down suppressive fire as a shield is shown blocking each bullet with accuracy. As they remark, "Sir, he's like a damn tank." As Tevin slowly closes the gap between him and his foes, unable to damage him, they attempt to damage his pride, saying, "Why won't you die, you greyhound dog?" In an instant, he kills 2 soldiers in one fell swoop, as the last one alive due to him losing his balance. With death imminent, the soldier refused to die without a fight, screaming in an attempt to prove his valor to himself. Without paying any mind, Tevin dons a portion of rhino hide, covering the location the bullets will hit even without looking at the soldier. He readies his almighty cookie bashes and slams it down in one fluid motion, taking the soldier's life with the blood of that soldier left on his face as he begins to wonder. You men sentenced yourself to your own demise. I am not to blame for this. You've chosen the wicked side. Lost in thought, he still worries as he states, "Louise, how's it going over there?" He turns around in a panic as it is revealed that Louise has either disarmed or killed 24 soldiers in a time it took Tevin to kill 3. As the sniper readies himself to take out Louise, he angrily remarks, "Stupid support Kimyos, always got your damned arms folded. Yeah, try some lead in your skull." As he shoots, Louise blocks it with hardened ash, and reading the bullet's trajectory allows him to pinpoint the Kimyo's location and kills him in an instant. As Louise lands next to him, Tevin states, "Pirate scum. They've been taking supplies from neighboring towns to sustain their men. How many do you think handed over their last meals willingly?" As Louise coldly states, despite their allegiance, they had it coming. Tevin feared nothing for them. Changing the subject immediately, Louise remarks, "This is the second oil rig we've hit. To think they've took over with so little noise. It went undetected for weeks." As Tevin, remaining vigilant, states, "Well, they're silent now, that's for sure." As Commander Brandon appears, a soldier states, "Inspector, main deck secured." As everyone begins to spread out on the main deck, Brandon states, "Excellent job, gentlemen. Looks like the main deck had 3 times the amount of footmen on board. We've successfully cleared the lower level and there weren't nearly as many there." Continuing proudly with, "They knew we were coming after we cleared the first vessel and still didn't stand a chance." Showing a serious face that makes his regret almost palpable, Brandon states, "There's still more work to be done, but it must wait. I have bad news." As he continues with, "We received distress signals from Central Trinidad, where Azam and Yukiko are currently located. An evaluation team is on its way. They should be flying in." Louise, surprised by such a turn of event, Brandon states, "I could not guarantee their safety." I gave no further detail of their current status. Attempted to comfort the oldest of the group, Tevin states, "Yukiko will be alright, brother. Azam is with her. He'll protect her just fine." Underestimating the seriousness that Louise puts into being the Cub's protector, he screams angrily, "And who will protect him?" Attempting to help any way he can, Brandon states, "Take my boat. I already instructed my lieutenant to take one of you there immediately. I assume it to be you, Sir Hemlock." As Louise declines, saying, "Thank you, but I'll fly. It'll be quicker." As Brandon gives in, saying, "Very well. I hope it's nothing serious." Knowing he is leaving the one brother who was able to protect himself, but due to him having the responsibility as the oldest to look out for the youngest, Louise says, "Sorry." As Tevin states, "You're right, brother. Make sure they're both safe and get back." As Louise responds, I leave the safety of the greyhounds to you, brother. Don't let your guard down. You're out here alone now. Give him hell." As we transition to the Cub that is thought to need protection, Yukiko heart, as she thinks to herself, "Did I get him?" Noticing the orb of energy in place of his organs, Yukiko questions its use, saying, what is that? Continuing with, is that why it's able to regenerate? As the nightmare regeneration is kicked into high gear, Yukiko thinks further. He's a monster from a story. He doesn't have a soul. That must be what's keeping him going in place of one. As the Berserker 3 heads begin to roar ferociously, Yukiko stands at the ready, the sword of her own in one hand and the katana of her father in the other. As she thinks, you may be real, but you have a heart to protect just like mine. As the giant swings towards Yukiko, Yukiko swiftly dodges towards his arm to avoid being hit while swinging both of her swords. Looking at the state of the giant, unable to make a clear cut, Yukiko uses Tasame's ice to hold the giant in place as she delivers a devastating cross slash. Using her blade as a medium, she then encapsulates the giant's feet in the ice as she thinks to herself, thank you, mister. Jumping in at her sworn nightmare, she continues saying, for the first man I kill will only be a dream. As we shift scene to Azam versus the behemoth and the twin nightmares, we see Azam flowing his talent through his weapon. As the behemoth prepares for an attack, Azam with such blinding speed, he increases his cutting power enough to cut the behemoth itself, who was just too hard to pierce before. Slamming down on the spot where Azam was, with blinding speed he evades the attack and in a mere moment appears in between the archer nightmares, impaling one while wrapping the chains around the other's neck to prevent them from moving. As the behemoth feels its purpose on his back, it slams his palm down with great speed for someone of his size. As Azam thinks to himself, there you go, big guy, smashing both archers in one fell swoop, crushing their very cords that are holding them to this mortal plane. As Azam appeared to have maneuvered to safety, as he states, don't look at me, you did it. As he gained his footing, he launched himself in the air while crashing into the behemoth, peering at the giant from above. Azam calmly remarks, don't worry, big guy, as he uses the blade portion of his weapon as a foothold. Channeling his talent into the blade with lightning emanating from it, the behemoth can only stand in awe as Azam says, you will be joining them soon. Launching himself with so much chi that he appears as a lightning bolt striking down from the heaven itself, as the blood of his enemy is running down on Azam as if it's a reward for his victory. As he slowly picks up his weapon, Elphialtes, observing from a distance, states, am I supposed to be impressed? Of course you figured out you needed to hit its core. You think as fast as you move. What actually impresses me is that you haven't fallen asleep yet. My chi is everywhere, and it has a particular side effect. As the shower of blood continues around Azam, Elphialtes says, well done, you killed the nightmare. Guess that makes you an even bigger one, Azam. Reaching for one of the 3 scrolls positioned on his back, he continues, you ruined my story, boy. That makes me want to carve you up. I pre-wrote this chapter many years ago. There are only a few that can encounter me, and a haste talent such as yours is one. Continuing with, I have several chapters written to handle situations such as this. You're very unlucky to experience one. You know the gibberish the god tier preach. Consider your weakness and overcome. Well, I follow suit as he formed the hand sign to summon the Nightmaric skies while giving it Azam's name as its target. He finishes with this was written for you, exploding as Azam standing there observing as he chants Nightmaric sky, Azam's bane, showing a horse nightmare with multiple tendrils spanning from its tail as ORDEAL Webtoon episode 129 comes to an end. Now, with the episode recap over, I do want to talk about the nuances of this episode and give some of my thoughts. The first is the death of Louise. The title of the episode with the actions of Louise will lead one down that path, but upon reflection would be a terrible writing move in regards to killing off Louise in this specific moment. It's not bad for him to kill Louise per se, but it's about the execution and for the proper pieces to be aligned. Louise has one of the oldest talents made stronger with the passing of each generation. Ashes of the Father, although it is a range control based talent assumptively. If we are adhering to the rule of 3 we established from the last episode review, then Louise's death has been mentioned once and indication to it once as well. Usually when Brent is hinting towards something, he throws indications throughout the story. However, he mentions it usually 3 times before we get the actual reveal. At this current point in time, he only mentioned Louise dying once. This moment is Brent putting Louise's ability on full display, since he did not show what he can actually do. If this was a series like JJK, it'd be more understandable for a showcase before a death for an important character. So Louise is safer now. Now the next thing I want to talk about is the change in Tevin between seasons 2 and 3. Now Tevin changes subtle and takes a different approach from Shay in terms of his enemies. In Shay's case, his earliest memory was always pain, and even said to be blocked out by him when he gets older due to the amount of pain he was in at the time. This pain being deeply embedded in Shay makes him not feel compassion for his enemies, but only for those who love him. So in order to keep the ones that he loves safe, he disregards the world itself to root out the cause of evil, essentially treating evil like it's a cancer, and he is the chemotherapy that will save the world itself. In Tevin's case, he may not have known the same pain, but is often seen trying to shoulder the burdens of others. As the tank, he has to be unmovable, literally and figuratively. As we see the increase in his S-rank stats, he has become the living embodiment of a tank. But once he is taken alive, he is put into a similar headspace as he was after taking the life of Ryugaskan, one where he chose to sacrifice his moral compass in being forced to take a life. In season 1 case, yeah, he was on board with killing Rokash, but when Shay killed Nanaki, Tevin looked at the Shay with such shock. While we get the line, he would become the greatest enemy of humanity, just going to show a fundamental difference between their thought process. So when he is killing so many people at once, whether for justice or safety, does not matter. Running parallel with the same compassion Leo showed to his enemies as well. Yukiko part was amazing as well. I particularly enjoyed her using her personal sword to funnel Hasame through instead of her father's blade. It's kind of a nod by Brent saying yes, we will see more of Hasame's ability, but she is her own Kimyo, so expect something more unique from her rather than expecting the same thing we've seen with Sabito. Now, this episode I do also want to talk about Azam. It seems that Azam has covered one of his major weaknesses, which is being too predictable. Now, when we look at the decisive strikes against the behemoth, we get a slight view on Azam's perception of the world, where he is able to see the pressure points of others. This may allow him to see where the chi is flowing, specifically allow him to hit the pressure point with extreme force and accuracy, leaving the Kimyo stunned, as we not only see with the behemoth but Rokash as well. The Kirin 5-point palm was formerly a melee move and now can be used at range. This could lead me to assume that yes, his weapon flows easier with his talent. It also trained him on how to utilize his chi more effectively rather than burning it for fuel, which is a big upgrade to his arsenal. Azam is being led by rage, so a lot of his attacks are brutal. We do see a hint of easygoing speedster that we come to know and love, but in this case he was making really dark jokes. Now art wise, I want to point out specifically how Brent portrayed his speed throughout this battle. When Azam is moving, he is shown as electricity or the background being blurred to show his speed. Giving him the first panel for an action shot goes to show his reaction time and how slow others are moving in comparison to him. In the Cass Santiago fight, he was just moving in a straight line in regards to chasing behind Cass, which allowed him to be easily countered by Cass, although Cass was not faster than him. Now he's using his environment more, which allows him to move in as many directions as possible. Even in the air, as long as he has stable footing, he can use his talent, and by forcing stable footing with his very blade, he can increase his striking power in one decisive movement. Now, the Kimyo of the week is Azam Aziz for his ability not only to read the situation, but also to be able to use his opponent's strength as their own disadvantage was downright genius. Anyway, this is all I got for this week's review of Ordeal Webtoon. Now, like I said in the beginning of the video, we do have a like goal for this video as well. Get this video to 100 likes and I will do another video breaking down Azam Aziz. Anyway, be sure to like the video, comment down below what are your thoughts on this episode, and consider subscribing with the bell enabled to be sure you don't miss another weekly review or like goal challenge to help me grow the channel, because I can't do it without you, Kimyos, because I can't do it without you. But anyway, it's been your boy wolph, and I'm out.